If all 45 US presidents came back to life and met each other, what would they think? Edit Grover Cleveland was a president twice, so therefore there are only 45 presidents, counting Biden as current too. This is to clear up confusion. Thanks you Medicated Mayonnaise for pointing it out. Would freak out seeing Obama. Someone might start a fight. Edit there would definitely be multiple fights. A lot wouldn't like Jack Kennedy and Biden members of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Hey Teddy, is Wheels here any relation to you? Most of them would be like women are voting. Does Grover Cleveland come back twice? Well, I think George Washington would be really surprised to meet Barack Obama. Madison is just fuming in a corner over how the Supreme Court has interpreted the Constitution. Lincoln would be confused why the black president is a Democrat and not a Republican, then become even more confused when he saw Republicans flying Confederate flags. Washington oh so my whole thing about parties got totally ignored. Cool. What's that black guy doing here? A third of them would probs start choking on the air freshener depending on where they're meeting. My first thought was sounds like a new Super Smash Bros. Game. Just Andrew Jackson standing on top of a pile of bodies. Maybe Avon Duddy's still alive, catching their breath, preparing for a final showdown. Each one would probably be really disappointed in the next with few exceptions. The further away from each other time-wise they'd be, the more disappointed. That's just the old guys looking at the newer guys though. The more recent ones would have fewer questions and would do most of the explaining. I think they'd split off into small groups probably mostly divided by party lines and racial tolerance with some exceptions and only interact with the others with strained courtesy. Obama would absolutely show Abe the Thanks Obama meme and Abe would hopefully start using the phrase while chatting to other presidents and it would be both cursed and amazing. Washington, did a single one of you listen to my farewell address? George Washington and Barack Obama would be the centers of attention. For very different reasons. I think the more important question is, if all 45 US presidents came back to life and had to fight to the death, which one would be the last man standing? I just know John Tyler, the 10th president, would be happy to meet his living grandson. Why is the Secretary of Transportation kissing that man? Washington Jackson. Where are the Indians? Nixon or OU? I feel like Lincoln would meet Obama and be like, that turned out better than expected. I don't think the early presidents would be very happy with how the government works now. Washington wasn't a fan of party politics at all, and the founding fathers set up the government so no one person could hold too much power. Mainly as they were trying to avoid the absolute power of the English king they just got rid of to see the power now with the president much more than the royal family they won freedom from has now, and the infighting of party politics more interested in themselves than the country would probably be much more disappointing than anything else. The language barrier between contemporary English and Washingtonian English would be amazing to watch. The military budget is what? I think the ones that are still alive would be pretty concerned they came back from the dead. A third of the presidents would be fangirling over George Washington, another third over Abe Lincoln, and the modern third would probably freak out over meeting even Teddy Roosevelt. Their early ones would be both impressed with the nation and mad at how Congress runs. JFK wouldn't care the moment he learns about Tinder. They would think brains, and ones that are still alive would be like, oh, shit, zombies. US Grant would be, you folks are still at it? More duels on the lawn than ever before. Why the hell is my face on the side of a mountain? Also, is my nose really that big? Other presidents. Where's my mountain? A lot would be very upset. Especially FDR and Eisenhower. Who's the black guy? I can't see anything. I can't breathe. Where am I? Oh God, I can't move. Insert racist screaming here. Does the crypto president Edith Wilson, who effectively ran the country after Woodrow Wilson's stroke, come back too? Woodrow Wilson, if he came back, would need to catch up on the events of the latter part of his own presidency. Anyone else think it would take Teddy Roosevelt about 30 seconds to get tired of Trump's shit and then he'd just slap him silly? Some big issues. Early presidents would not be happy with the expansion of executive privilege and the imperial presidency. Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, etc. would not be pleased about the mythologizing of the lost cause. How much of our current divisions are still North liberals v Southern conservatives? FDR through Eisenhower would be appalled at the power of military-industrial complex, the growth of income inequality. Kennedy and Biden versus Nixon and Trump would be one for the fight of the night. George Washington would be pretty pissed. Literally not one single person followed his rules, which would have solved like 90 of our problems. The founding fathers would look at Trump and say, "This is why we put in checks and balances." The founding fathers referred to it as an experiment, so they would be shocked it lasted this long. Then they realized that most of the changes made have created a dangerous system that can now easily be handed to a tyrant. Why are the Democrats Republicans and the Republicans are Democrats? Reading the comments has been rather amusing and makes me want to study research American history now. Edited because I had missed 3 words in one sentence and the sentence wouldn't have made sense. Lol. The first dozen or so presidents would say to Biden, "Your vice president is a what and a who?" and crawl back into their graves. If they met and actually spent a bit of time getting to know everyone, I think it'd still be Trump who stands out. For a reasonable man, which I'd assume all US presidents except Trump have been, can understand times change and pigment can be overlooked. I still find it more surprising that being presidential can be thrown out from the Institute. Zombies. I'm picturing Ron Burgundy from Anchorman 2 involuntarily exclaiming "Bielyak." They would be impressed by my necromancy. The first thought that will come to 40 presidents' mind will be, "We have a black president?" X200B. BTW, there are 6 living presidents. Andrew Jackson shouts while pulling his dueling pistols, "There can be only one." Pretty sure they'd gang up and beat the tar out of Trump. Woodrow Wilson would really hate Obama. James Buchanan would whisper to Warren Harding, "I like the name of your scandal." Andrew Johnson and Donald Trump would probably get along pretty well. A lot of people would be really surprised to see Obama. Andrew Jackson to Joe Biden, "What do you mean you hired a native woman as Secretary of the Interior? Why are there any even left?" I'm pretty sure while their politics differed they'd all agree to beat the shit out of Trump. Teddy would be fucking pissed at today's GQP. I think many of the early ones would think, "WTF, you guys messed it all up. You shouldn't be so powerful." It's difficult to speculate on what the 45 US presidents might think about contemporary issues if they were able to come back to life and had opinions on them. Each president likely had their own unique perspective and priorities, and it's impossible to predict how they might feel about specific issues that are relevant today. It's also important to remember that the context and circumstances of today's world are very different from those of the past, so it might be challenging for these presidents to fully understand and relate to the current political and social landscape. I think most would be impressed with how those in Congress get away with kleptocracy and not get in trouble. They would all think, "Oh my God," in varying tones. "Oh, it's gonna get real racist real quick." Barack Obama would get lynched by at least a dozen of the others. Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft would get into a fistfight that Roosevelt would easily win, and Donald Trump would inevitably get his ass beat for being obnoxious. What the fuck have you done to this country? Look, and I did not fight that hard to hold together the Union for you all to fuck it up. George Washington would lose his shit. The older presidents would be shocked by how authoritarian the newer president's government became. There is a great piece that theorized what a fight would be like between all the presidents. Not all are dead. Most of them would really hate Barack Obama. I think most all of them would hate Trump and assume his presence means the end is near. I think 44 of them would not be impressed at Donald Trump. I think quite a few of them would glare at Obama. Amongst all of them as a whole there'd probably be a lot of admiration and a lot of disgust depending on how they aligned and what direction they steered things. Teddy Roosevelt would probably try to fight someone. There's a Deadpool series about that. Teddy would be throwing some fists around. Quite a number of them would shocked and awe of the 14th Amendment. Quite a number of them would be very happy to get out of isolation for eternity. AKA hell. Wow, they really integrated slavery into their capitalist realm with CEOs and such, and it's legal, fuck yeah. Would Secret Service by law have to secure support all of them? John Adams casually chatting with Obama while Washington and Jefferson awkwardly pretend to look at their phones. About 30 of them would be royally weirded out by JFK's Catholicism. W.H. Harrison would probably get a lot of flack. I bet Lincoln would challenge several people to a wrestling match. Possibly at the same time. LBJ would have a fucking field day comparing dick sizes. I did not read all of the comments, so forgive me if I'm repeating someone else's here, but not all 45 ex-presidents would need to come back to life, would they? I think only 39 of them are presently dead based on what I could find online, person shrugging. I'm Canadian, so I had to look it up. Who the fuck is this black guy? I think Lincoln and TR's reaction to meeting Trump as the standard bearer of the Republican Party would be the most interesting by far. I think they mostly wouldn't like each other. Grant would put his boot up someone's ass. Some of the first ones would probably be very shocked by Obama MVP Harris lol. Lincoln would be wearing Trump's ass like a boot, and Teddy Roosevelt would keep dumping FDR out of his chair to toughen him up. At least 17 fist fights would occur. Most of them involving Teddy Roosevelt. George Washington would be surprised to see Barack Obama. You let how many Catholics become president? Well, they're all but one related at least to a bomb. A 12-year-old girl figured it out years ago, look into it, crazy. They would all hate Trump. We've been a country for 250 years, way to go, prime institution. I think it would blow JFK's mind.